Hello there gang, Devere here, just going for the old games list once again. Thought I'd share a little bit of gameplay with you guys of Statues, which you could probably guess from the title and the gothic looking opening is a horror game. Setting wise, let's have a quick see what we get. General settings, you can change the difficulty level throughout the game as you play, which is a nice touch, and head bob, you probably want to take that off as it's quite harsh in this one. Graphic settings, this is actually a Unity game, so very limited, but there are a few you can have on if you want them. And finally, controls. Fully rebindable. Quick little tip, you might want to change blink from X to something like the right mouse button, so you're going to be using that a fair bit. So let's just dive on in with a new game. So we actually even get an introduction of sorts. I mean, not much for one, but it's better than you normally get. Ah, the hotline. So we wake up in a creepy abandoned hospital because, of course we do. It'd be nice if one of these games started off in like a major named brand restaurant with lots of life in them for a change. Probably not going to happen though. So we've got our flashlight, but on the upside it's not one of those irritating battery hunting games. And ooh, spooky things happen. So it does get off to a rather slow burn start, this game. It's quite a big level, but nothing really happens in it. Locked. And of course you'll see up the top right there, yes, a blink mechanic, so it's probably cluing you in as to what's going to be going down very shortly. On the positive side, you can pretty much sprint endlessly. In fact, why you probably wouldn't want to sprint is the question. This way. Boom. This way. So, I mean, about slow burn, I mean, nothing's happening. That should not have happened. Well, no, probably shouldn't have done. We were too busy mucking around with our mobile phone instead of paying attention to the road. So, of course, as ever, we accident must have taken our legs out because we can't climb over that imposing obstacle there. So now the game proper gets started. That banging's probably cluing you into that. I'm just going to use the effect and torpedo through quickly. And there's our hostile. Music's at least fairly decent. So you can close the doors behind you to slow them down, which is quite a nice touch. Didn't do that one, unfortunately. So there's one of the first irritations of this game, is the hotboxes for interacting can be finicky at times when you least need them to be. Not that way then. Aha. So yes, you've probably guessed from the name and the mechanics going on with the blink mechanic. It's one of those kind of weeping angels type affairs, or condemned criminal origins with the mannequins. Whilst you're looking at him, you're perfectly safe, but as soon as you close your eyes or turn your back to it, it comes torpedoing towards you. I should have done that elsewhere really, because I've now just brought him closer to me. That was probably not the cleverest idea. But it is a nice touch that you can just close the doors behind you to slow them down. And there we go. There's no point worrying about the exit now. However, despite this somewhat rather slow start, the game does actually pick up a bit later on. I mean, the visuals aren't bad for your typical Unity game. Haha, sneaky, sneaky. Objective, find the pliers, will do. So it does actually often have multiple enemies chasing you, which is quite a nice change. It's not just the singular. Alright, let's get him to come down this way. Let's get weaving this way around. Ah, see, so we've got one over there and one here. Ah, pincer attack. Yeah, it's definitely what I was going to expect to be sprinting backwards a lot. Suddenly flicking around with the... I don't know about that, they don't seem to come into the stairwell. Flicking around a lot to sort of check behind you. So finally, we get out of the hospital. So the game doesn't really do itself any favours by starting in there, honestly, as it comes across as fairly average Unity horror. So now it sort of opens up a bit more. These sort of more open-ended areas. It's got some interesting locations actually, as far as it goes. At moments like this. And you're in a shopping centre, then you've got a fun fair later on. So actually it's quite an interesting twist on the usual tropes of the... And again, the visuals are pretty decent. It makes a nice change from the usual asset flip junk that this price range generally tends to be on Steam. Oh, not to give any spoilers, but that's also a kind of boss that you'll have to interact with later on as well. So it's definitely, you get the feeling from the locations and some of the gameplay mechanics later on. This game definitely was inspired by Left 4 Dead 2. Fun fairs. I mean, one of the missions will have you in quite a fairly openish area, where you've got to collect some jerry cans full of petrol to start 3 generators. So very much like the shopping centre one with Left 4 Dead, when you had to go around and start the generators in the shopping centre. So all in all, this game does add quite and for most parts, some nice interesting twists on the usual tropes. So obviously somewhere around here our enemies are no doubt on their way. You even get a weapon later on as well to defend yourself with. And there's even some enemies that you can't do anything about, you just have to avoid. So all in all, it's quite, yeah, I think this is quite a nice enough twist on the whole sort of spooky statue riff. Right, that heartbeat means there's one close by somewhere. It's just those when you've got that happening, those hotboxes being so finicky is not what you really want. I mean, because of course now it's not the anatomy dummies anymore from the hospital, it's the store. There's store dummies now chasing us. It also does quite a good job of varying up the enemy types you meet throughout the game. Let's open that side. Not a problem. It's just that sort of across the blink thing. Try to time it all in with that. So I think we'll just about get around to concluding our dealings here, gangs. But yeah, the opening of the game certainly doesn't do itself any favours. So which way is he coming? Or are they coming? They might. As you see, it does at least often have several enemies to it. Yeah, you've got the different boss type bits. There's one where you have to try and make your way to a location while it tries to. You have to duck into alleyways to avoid all the stuff it's throwing. It's got some really good, intriguing mechanics. And then the very last level is completely different to everything you've done so far. So the story is a weak source. You've probably got from the rather unrelated messages that shouldn't have happened, etc. And the introduction car crash. You know, basically, we're dying. That's not a shocker. So yeah, we've got some more coming along with us. Aha! But the rest of this part of the game is kind of just the same thing, getting all these power levels on and then getting out of here. But it does do quite a good effective job of changing up the gameplay pacings. The very last level is more like almost, in a way, a bit like a action shooter rather than a stealth horror. Yeah, you've got to pick up the jerry cans of petrol, and yeah, all in all, it does a very good, very low cost game. The visuals are pretty good, the audio is pretty effective. The enemies, as you can see, I mean, I'll get myself killed by one just to show you. This has to be the weakest death scenes ever on a video game. How terrifying. I mean, I should be grateful, because normally in this low-end cost, it's just some screeching, blasting noise that wrecks your eardrums. It's hardly the most terrifying. It's checkpoint-based saves, so see now I can just carry on with the next floor if I want to. I can just call it a day, which is what we'll do now. But I thought I'd share some gameplay with you guys, because yeah, it's a pretty decent enough number. You get about 2.5, 3 hours of game out of it as well, the first time you play through. And there's a few collectibles to find if you're into that thing, for your achieves and all that, which is not something that overly concerns myself. So anyway, gang, thanks for taking the time to watch the video. I hope you found it useful or entertaining in some way. And as ever, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe to let me know you're alive. And I shall see you all next time. Bye for now.